Hello, hi. Thanks for joining us today for a new day at B2B Rocks. We are pleased to have with us this morning. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Hi, Quentin. I'm great. Thanks. Hi, everyone.
So a quick reminder. So we are delighted to have you attend this unique online event. So we put together a one-week event gathering like 70 international speakers with highly successful founders like Alex this morning. So you can attend up to 45 talks over the week. You can network with 1,500 executives within the European B2B SaaS ecosystem. So hope you enjoy the week at B2B Rocks. B2B Rocks is powered by Axeleo. So we are a B2B tech accelerator and VC. So this is why we support the ecosystem to help it grow, sharing best practices, experience, expertise for a maximum of attendees from all over Europe. So I won't take any more time, and I will let Alex introduce himself and share some best practices about expanding in some European region. So we are pleased to have Alex, CEO at Conto, on stage. So Alex, the stage is yours.
Thanks a lot, Quentin. Hi, everyone, again. Super happy to be virtually with you for about 40-45 minutes. I have, as you can see, I have a couple of slides, so I'll use them, but super happy to actually have more of an interactive session. So probably I can use maybe 15 minutes just to present a couple of things, and then super happy to take questions and to try and be as helpful and useful as possible for you guys. Very briefly, so I'm going to be talking about how we expanded Conto in 3 new countries at the same time. So this is going to be but before going to that, maybe I'll give you a very quick update on what Conto is. Probably some of you already know, but for those who don't, that might be helpful. Conto is a neobank, so we're in the financial sector, and we're addressing SMEs, so small and medium companies. We're focused on that business segment. We don't address individuals. We're focused on all types of businesses, both incorporating and existing businesses. Incorporating means new businesses that are created or new companies that are created every day. We're addressing all SMEs. So the definition of an SME is from 1 to 250 employees. So that's quite a wide range of companies. And we're addressing these companies in 4 markets: France, that we launched in 2017, so 3 years ago, and Spain, Italy, and Germany that we launched between last year and beginning of this year. And so we expanded quite recently to these 3 new markets. And this is what I'm going to be speaking about. Of course, we only have, let's say, 1 year or maybe a bit more of activity in those markets. So we're not, very big yet there, and we still have a lot to do and a lot to learn. So I'll try and share some thoughts and some ideas, but maybe it would be even better in a couple of years to have more data and more insights. On Conto, so we have a team of more than 250 people, everyone based in Paris, including the country teams. So the Italian, Spanish, and German teams are also based in Paris, traveling quite a bit to these countries. Of course, now with COVID, not too much, but so everyone is in Paris. About 100,000, a bit more actually than 100,000 companies that are using the service in those 4 markets. In terms of funding, as you can see, this activity is requires quite some funds, both from the team perspective. Of course, we had to hire and develop the team, which is a big investment, but also in terms of marketing, Of course, we do quite some marketing online mostly, and so this is another big part of our spend. And the last point is that for regulatory reasons, we need to have some capital, some buffer, basically, to make our service robust and secure. And this is a requirement by the French regulator, ACPR, and also the European Central Bank. So that's why we've raised this 136 million so far. And last but not least, on this slide, our main, let's say, concern or our main challenge every day is to keep on having a great customer satisfaction, a great NPS, despite our exponential growth. And so these are two indicators of course, a very good customer satisfaction, the app ratings or the NPS that we survey every week. So I'll go quickly. I won't go into all the details of the slides, but maybe just very quickly. Our ambition is not only to be offering a bank account, cards, and some payment means, but really to create a business finance management solution to enable small businesses to be more efficient on a daily basis and focus on really what matters for them, being more creative on their product and services, spending more time with their clients and so on, and spending less time on the administrative or financial tasks that sometimes are a bit or often are quite painful, actually. This is another way to show you the evolution. And as I was mentioning, we launched in France in 2017. Almost at the same time as raising our Series A, and we started expanding in 2019 across Europe. And this is also how this was a couple of months before raising our Series C. And of course, our Series C of more than 100 million euros is intended to help us grow, expand across Europe, and really become the European leader in that segment. Now going more into the details of how we chose the three countries that we have just expanded into, and why we chose them, and why we think it was a good idea to choose these three markets. So first, I think it was a very let's say rational, and maybe our ex-consulting background with my co-founder Steve was at stake. But basically, we just said, okay, let's take some big markets. So in Europe, obviously, you have the five largest market in Europe are the four that we are in, plus the UK. But of course, the UK with the Brexit and a different currency and different payment system seemed to be not a great idea at the time. And so we just picked the three other big markets in the Eurozone that represent about 15 million SMEs, so already a very, very large market. Because these countries are in the Eurozone, it means, of course, same regulation, meaning that with the license that we have, the payment institution license that we have, we could easily expand to these three markets. In terms of technology and IT infrastructure, it's the same payment system. It's the SEPA area. And of course, it's the same currency. So it's easier both technically, because we have we're only supporting one currency today, which is euro. So all our accounts are in euro, for instance. But also in terms of marketing, it's easier because we have one, pricing, one price list. Everything is the same. So if you have the €9 account, for instance, is €9 in France, €9 in Italy, €9 in Spain, €9 in Germany. And so that makes quite a lot of things easier. And also you don't have to manage any currency risk. So for lots of reasons, it's easier. So it was lots of different reasons that all went in the same direction. And maybe last point is that from let's say logistics point of view, of course, these three markets are close to France, so it's easy to have the team centralized in Paris and fly from time to time to these markets. If needed, you can go, for the day or for 2 days. That's fairly easy. You have lots of connections and so on. So this is really why we chose those 3 markets. And of course, these 4 markets together represent the majority or a very big chunk of the European economy, especially if you exclude the UK. And so we thought if we're being successful in these 3 other markets, that's going to be a very big company and a very big success already. So let's not try and do everything at the same time, like not all European countries, for instance, but these 4 markets are really a big challenge. And maybe actually you could ask the question the other way around, meaning why did we choose to go at the same time in 3 markets? And the reason is that well, first we felt like it was the right timing. We couldn't kind of wait too many years before expanding, because otherwise some other players might emerge and might try and take the market before we entered. But also we thought it would be good to be able to let's say use what's working well, share best practices and use what's working well in one country for the other and so on. And of course we're doing that with France, but France was launched much much earlier and is our kind of home market because the whole team is here and so on. So it's slightly different. And so we thought it would be good not to launch just one market, to wait like 9 months or a year and then another market and so on, but really to launch overnight, let's say, in those 3 markets. Of course, what was and what is still super key is to localize, especially given our industry and our positioning. So we're in the financial sector, so trust is of course very important, and it's easier to trust a service that's well localized in your language and with your different let's say local or cultural settings. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is because we're focused on businesses, on B2B, and because our service is not free, all our clients are paying clients, we thought it was really important to have a professional service, including being really localized. So when we talk about localization, there are 2 aspects. Really, the first one is the product, obviously. So the websites, the web app, the mobile apps, Android and iOS. And so it's about changing the language, as you know, but it's also about changing some settings. Just to give you a very concrete example, the company names or the legal forms in those different countries are different. So in France, you have, for instance, like a company called SAS, and in Germany that would be a GmbH or GmbH, and you have to localize all that in the product because otherwise it doesn't even work. But then you also have to localize, of course, the phone numbers, the addresses, and some other stuff like the VAT levels or the VAT percentages. In France, as most of you probably know, the base VAT rate is 20%. In Germany is 19%. And because we're helping our clients for their bookkeeping and accounting and VAT calculation, of course, we had to localize all that. We have some automated tools that basically enable companies to make their bookkeeping and VAT accounting easier. And so this was, of course, very essential to adjust, for instance, these VAT rates. And then the second part is the service part. And the service is mostly, let's say, people, but not only, but mostly people. And so it's having the right team for customer support. So right now, for instance, we have customer support in 5 languages, French and English that we had from day one, and German, Italian, Spanish that we added when we expanded. So that's true for customer support, but that's also true for other teams that are in contact with clients. So the KYC and AML teams. KYC stands for Know Your Customer. So all the teams that are checking the documents and the information when a new client wants to open an account, these teams also have to speak German, Italian, and Spanish in that case. And same goes for the back office, because when we have to check some documents that a client is providing us with, if it's a German invoice or a French or Italian contract or whatever, we need, of course, to speak the local language to do all that. So it's quite a lot of complexity, and managing, of course, 5 languages in a company adds some complexity, but it's really needed in our sector and with our positioning, and that's why from day one we really invested heavily in localizing the product and the service. And sorry, going back just one sec to this localization, one thing I mentioned, which I think was very helpful in our case, is that when we launched in France, so again in 2017, from day one we had the service in 2 languages, French and English. So the whole product and the whole service was available in French and English. So even though we were only available for French companies, most French companies are run by French people or people speaking French. But of course, there are also some non-French speakers opening businesses in France. And so we had already some clients that were not speaking French, were speaking English with us. And so that was a very good way to get started. And so from day one, we had in mind that we would expand across Europe. And so we were already prepared for, having 2 languages. And if you have 2, you can have easily more languages on the websites, on the app, on the mobile apps, and same for the customer support. We already had this kind of language and localization aspect in mind. So that was very helpful to have that from day one. So moving to the next slide on the dedicated local teams, as I was mentioning, everyone is based in Paris, but traveling quite a bit. For each country, we started with 1 country manager, as you can see there, 1 or 2 marketing managers, so taking care of both online marketing, but also offline marketing, doing some events in the different cities, in Milan and Berlin, and Barcelona and Madrid, and so on. 1 copywriter, obviously, for all the copywriting, especially on the website, on the blog, and so on. 1 business developer, because even though most of our acquisition is self-serve, so like clients, coming on a website, clicking on I want to open an account and doing everything themselves. For some clients, and especially for larger clients, they sometimes have questions, and so we have a very small sales team, and so we have also a sales team for those new countries, new markets, and of course we started with also some customer support agents, and now we obviously have more than 1, 2. But so everyone based in Paris. And of course, needless to say, but all these teams are fully not only native speakers, but also like really Italian, Spanish, or German, both for the language, but even more importantly for also the cultural knowledge, knowing of course the country, the cities, and everything, so that we really can bring a very local touch and a very local service to our clients in these 3 markets. On the marketing strategy, so here is a picture of Marino and Julia, our Italian country manager, Italian marketing manager, and so we've done very good local touches, and trying to get the right balance between awareness, doing some events, and getting people and companies to know us in those 3 markets, but also focusing quite a lot on acquisition levers and on online marketing. And so basically the 4 types of things we've been doing still today, by the way, is paid acquisition and SEO. Of course, online is the biggest channel for us, just because we're 100% online service. Doing partnerships with local brands, local services is of course very helpful. Local brands are usually, I mean, if you pick the right ones, can be a great lever to get started in a country. PR was also very good for us. Especially, we used the last funding round, so the 100 million funding round, to have some PR in the 3 different countries. So that's also why, by the way, we launched just before this. I mean, a couple months before the round, and so it was a good timing. And last but not least, we also do some local events, both with potential partners, but also with potential clients. Obviously, to get some user feedback, we did quite a few sessions. For instance, at WeWork in those different cities, we were spending like 2 or 3 days with our laptops there, iPads, and so on, and just trying to get some feedback, asking freelancers or small companies working there if they were happy with their traditional bank, what could be better, if Konto would be interesting for them, what would be their feedback on our landing page, how easy it was for them to open an account, and so on. So this was also very helpful, and is very similar, by the way, to what we did when we started in France. So I've been a bit quick, but I think again the idea was more to have as many questions and many interaction as possible. So happy to be taking some questions now and helping you, maybe giving you more tips or insights on what we did and how maybe it could be useful to you.
So Alex will be back in a second. So feel free to ask questions in the chat. Alex will be back to answer all the questions you have. So feel free to ask. We have still plenty of time to have a Q&A with Alex. So if you have like any question to share with him, thanks Loic and Emily for sharing the first question. So we will be back in a minute with Alex. Thanks, Leah, for asking a question. If some of you are like expanding in Europe and have questions about how to do so, what are the best practices, what should be the first step you take to launch in a new country, thanks, Jerome, and have questions about how to do so, what are the best practices, what should be the first step you take to launch in a new country. Thanks, Jerome, and have questions about how to do so, what are the best practices, what should be the first step you take to launch in a new country. Thanks, Jerome, and have questions about how to do so, what are the best practices, what should be the first step you take to launch in a new country. Thanks, Jerome, and have questions about how to do so, what are the best practices. Alex, I think we have some noise. Yeah, perfect.
Is it good now?
Yeah, sorry for the technical issue.
Sorry.
So we have plenty of questions from the audience. Can you see them in the chat? Yeah, so I'll let you answer question per question.
Okay, great. So how come I can't see sorry, I'm not sure I can see the questions. Quentin, I can see your question, but I cannot see the participants' questions.
Yeah, so you have to move to the stage chat. But maybe
yeah, okay, perfect. Yeah. I got it. Great.
Perfect, thanks.
So I'll take them, let's say, one by one. So thanks, Emily, for your question. How do we attract talents as a French company expanding to new countries? Well, I think nothing very different from attracting any talent. As people know, like the team and talent is the team is key. So it's key to have the right, let's say, tech talent, sales talents for all teams, and so including, of course, for this European expansion. The way we attracted them is very similar to other profiles by, of course, showing them what we had done so far, what was our vision, what was our ambition for Conto in these 3 new markets, and so maybe to split the question in 2, it's very different whether you try to hire some people that are already in France, because of course some of the team that we hired for our European expansions were already in France, already in Paris for some of them. So that was just like hiring someone else, let's say, on the team. Maybe the second part is how did we attract some of them to move to Paris, to relocate to Paris, and so this is also maybe more of a kind of personal discussion and decision. Some of them have partners or families, and so this was also a bit of a challenge. But I think in the end, like the mission, the adventure and the idea and the team was what's convinced them to join. So Loic had a question on 2 questions actually. So on why centralizing everyone in Paris. So I think two main reasons to that. So having all the teams in Paris was, of course, a very good way to make sure that new teams, so in that case, the Italian, Spanish, and German teams, were really getting the let's say the right onboarding, the right culture, and the right also the right means to do what they they had to do, versus being a very small team of, let's say, 5 or 7 people in Berlin, in Milan and Barcelona. They had like the full support of the whole team. So that's the first point of this. And the second point is, it's also very key for us to have only one culture. And so the same way I was saying that it was important for those new teams to get the, let's say, the Conto culture, it's also very important that the existing teams, and let's say the more central team or the more French team, because obviously at the beginning we're a bit more French, let's say, was transitioning to a more international or at least European culture. And so right now, when we're talking about a new feature launch or a new project that we have in the company, we automatically think multi-country Europe. Of course, everything is in English. All the meetings, all the documents, everything is in English, and so we think it's much easier to do that if at the same in the same office, in the same building, you have people from different backgrounds speaking different languages, because then everyone feels like one new culture, or one, let's say, more European culture, versus having Italians in Italy, French, or mostly French people in France, Germans in Germany, and so on. And so that's we're really happy we did that, at least for the beginning. Probably in the coming years, depending on the growth and the hiring needs for these markets, we will probably open local offices with local teams, but that's still too early for us. And for your second question, Loic, on the PR efforts, indeed, we are outsourcing that part, or at least where we have someone in-house that works on this, but we also have local agencies working on that. And by the way, we did that for France as well. There's quite a lot of debate, whether like PR agencies are really needed or not, and but I think in the few experience I've had on that, it's usually better to have a PR agency. You can start with some freelancers or some people working just a couple of hours a week, but usually you get better results when you have a local agency working on that and supporting you. Leah is asking why we're specifically aiming for a German banking license. We're not specifically aiming for a German banking license. So maybe there was, I don't know if there was an article stating that, or if there was something maybe unclear, but we're not specifically aiming for German banking license. By the way, today, just to answer differently to that question, today we have a French payment institution license, but because or thanks to the European Union regulation, our payment institution license enables us to operate across the whole of the European Union, and that's how we passported. It's called passporting our license to Spain, Italy, and Germany. And so right now, this payment institution license enables us to do everything payments related. So having an account, cards, payments, transfers, and so on. And it's true that we cannot do credit, we cannot do lending today, and so that's probably the next step for us. So we are currently discussing with the regulator and checking how we could get this banking license, or at least a way to offer some credits to our and lending services to our clients. But this would be a French license, a French banking license that we would similarly passport to all European countries. And so we would be able to use that French license all across Europe, including in Germany. Why Germany was strong competitor in 26 and not Netherlands? Germain's question, yeah. So N26 is focusing, at least so far, is focusing on consumers, meaning physical persons, even though they also have a business offer for freelancers. And our focus at Conto is on companies, meaning on legal entities. So the vast majority of our clients, 90% of our clients, are legal entities, are companies. And so these companies are not served, are not addressed by N26. And so that's why today, at least, the overlap between N26 and Conto is fairly limited. So that's the first point. And the second point, obviously, is that Germany is the largest economy, the largest country in Europe. So if we want to be a strong player in Europe, it's quite important to be in Germany, and hopefully we'll be strong in Germany. But at least we, of course, wanted to let's say try and not to avoid, let's say, going to Germany. And Netherlands, conversely, Netherlands is a smaller market. Or much smaller market than Germany, obviously, and so we so far we haven't decided to go to the Netherlands, but that could come in the next few years. Charlotte, what is the best performing acquisition channel for each of those countries? I think it's very similar, actually, across all markets, including France. The best performing acquisition channels are like online marketing and or online channels, both with SEO, so free, obviously, organic, let's say, acquisition, and paid marketing with the usual suspects. AdWords, Facebook ads. So this is at least in terms of volume, this is probably the biggest. Then in terms of the best the best ROI or the lowest CAC, the lowest acquisition costs. Of course, organic or SEO is the lowest, but apart from that, partnerships work really well. And so finding some companies that help SMEs either on finance or on some other aspects of their lives, especially also like on the first steps of the company, incorporating a company, drafting your bylaws and so on. These tend to be very good partners, a bit like what we've done in France with Legal Start to help companies get incorporated and get started. This usually is a good partnership. And then affiliates is also a very good performing channel, a bit less in volume than the paid acquisition, than search and social like Facebook, but it's performing quite well. It takes a bit more time because you need to get those affiliates on board. But over time, as we see in France, it tends to be a very good channel for us. Which profiles do you hire first when opening a new country? We started first. We wanted first to try to get the country manager first, but of course, it could take a bit more time to find the right person. So ideally, we'd like to hire the first person as country manager, and then other people, meaning copywriter, marketing manager, maybe in that order, then customer support, then business developer. That would be probably the order, but that's the ideal order. But of course, if it takes a bit more time than expected to get the right country manager, for instance, you might launch the process for someone else on the team, and so sometimes you don't have the exact right order, but that would be the ideal sequence, I think. Gaetan is asking, how did you sequence your hiring when opening simultaneously? We tried to hire in these 3 markets at the same time, but that was the theory. It was a bit different in practice. We found our Spanish and Italian country managers first, and our German country managers took us a few more months. That's also why we launched Germany a bit later. So we didn't prioritize any market. We wanted to do them, the 3 of them at the same time, but we happened in the end to launch Italy first country manager that we found. Probably 2 months later, Spain, and probably 4 or 5 months later, Germany. So we wanted to launch all of them at the same time, but effectively we launched them with a bit of delay. When I mean launch, when I say launch, I mean doing a proper, let's say, launch announcement, an event, and PR communication, and so on. Technically, the product was ready and the service was ready and was launched almost the same day, but we didn't push much on the PR, on the comms, on the marketing side. Emmanuel, how did you design your international strategy? Did you get an advisor, accelerator? No, we did. So we did everything in-house, of course, trying to get some advice from our investors, from people around us that we would talk to, either other companies that had been growing outside of France or across Europe. Of course, read some articles on insights from other players and so on. But it was done, mostly in-house. And on market opportunities, we actually worked a bit with MasterCard. Our cards, our Conto cards are branded with MasterCard, and so we had a study with MasterCard on these 3 markets, so Spain, Italy, and Germany, to have a bit their insights on the markets. But frankly, it was not very different from what we had done or we had seen internally. So it's just comforting us that it was the right choice to try and launch these 3 new markets at the same time. And Yoni is asking, how do you consider banks? Do you believe fintech could operate without banks? Well, I think banks are both competitors. Of course, the clients that we're getting every day would go to traditional banks otherwise, so we're definitely competing with banks. But banks are also partners, and very very transparently, if there were no banks, we wouldn't be able to operate, or we wouldn't have started Conto, because we haven't reinvented, let's say, 100% of the banking system ourselves. And so we have some banks that we're working with for to access the SEPA network, to access the SWIFT network, and so on. So we're doing quite a lot of things, and we're doing more and more. By the way, we spent 14-15 months building our core banking system. And so this is very important for us to have our some leeway and some autonomy to be really able to create a better service for our clients. But of course, we're also still partnering with some banks. And as I was mentioning, we're also partnering with MasterCard, for instance, which is not the, let's say, the most non-traditional player. So of course, in order to do what we're doing, we're still partnering with some traditional players, but that's also what makes us stronger and able to propose our service. So I guess fintech could not operate, let's say, in the short term without banks. Maybe in 5, 10, or 20 years, they would be possible, but not yet.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Thanks a lot for taking the time. We are running out of time, actually, but I see there's still some question. Maybe, Alex, for the people listening to you, how could they reach out to you if they have still some questions to ask?
Well, you can reach me on LinkedIn or Twitter.
Okay, perfect. So feel free to contact Alex if you still have some question. Alex, thanks again for taking the time and sharing with us a lot of insights on how to go internationally, and especially in Europe. So I've seen so many questions in the chat. So thanks for taking the time to answer all the questions.
Thanks a lot, Quentin. Have a great day all, and good luck with the whole COVID situation. Hope everyone is safe.
Yeah, thanks, Alex.
Bye-bye.
So stay connected. We have a next session coming in 1 minute, and we will be talking with Camille from Goshaba and Raphael from Aster. Stay connected. We will be back in a minute.